What are those
Yeah.
mountains?
Yeah. In
Um,
clusters, it happens a lot.
yeah, like the thousands of unreported people that go missing in those mountains every single year, and no
like
one
the
actually knows
like
a
the
direct
Bermuda
number.
Triangle.
Yeah. And it happens all over the world, actually, in all different places. There'll be clusters of them or national parks. It happens a lot, but it can happen in a city. And they all kind of fit different, like situationally, like what goes on makes it a missing 411 case or not. So I'll read off like a list real quick. It's like typically around 4 or 5 p.m. is when most of them happen. After they go missing, the weather will change. Like it'll have like a big, huge storm of some sort afterwards, which makes the search super like hard. A lot of times the helicopters looking for them will go down because of the storm, or will almost go down. So they'll have to pull off that search for like that first night, but it's always after that first time. So people are found with like missing socks, shoes, or like socks on in the middle of like the pond or something with their feet straight up and their socks don't have any mud or anything on it. So it was like they were dropped there. They're found in like previously searched areas. They're always near water, near a boulder field or granite. They mostly like suddenly disappear. Like you're walking in a line of people on a trail and then some dude at the end or the middle or the front just like is gone. There's typically no cause of death found, or it's like an unknown death, or it could be like some of them are weird drowning in places where it's like they didn't drown or it's weird. It's like a lot of times it's impossible they made it, like they traveled that far. Yeah, it appears that they like dropped down, like a little kid, 2 year old, or going 8 miles as a crow flies straight through the woods, which is a lot more going through the woods. You can't just walk straight through the woods, but a little kid making it 8 miles over, through all these fences. And suspiciously, a lot of the times the kids are found. So something's taken off with these people doing something to them. Sometimes they're found alive, and when they are, they like can't tell the real story, like their brain's all messed up. It's weird. Or they're found dead, mysterious circumstances, but they can't actually say it was like homicide or foul play. Like there's no bullet holes, typically no like broken bones, skull fractures, injuries of that would seem like a murder. One thing is like dogs can't find them, dead or not. The dogs can't find them. They'll pick up on a scent and then the scent will disappear, which is weird because these dogs are trained for that and they're really good at it. A lot of them are from German descent, have high intelligence. Like a lot of these people that go missing are scientists, German scientists, which is really weird. Peak athletes, like superior athletes, go missing all the time out in these woods. And then they're either like a lot of times they will be like a kid with Down syndrome or autism or blind in one eye. So some sort of like medical, physical or mental ailment is a common thing with missing 411. And it's all unexplainable. And like all of these can't be like, oh, an animal took off with them, because there would be blood, there would be clothing, there'd be body parts, there'd be some sort of something, and some people are like, oh, it's a serial killer in the woods. But it's like, how does a serial killer travel 8 miles with a 200-pound man on his shoulders? He doesn't, you know what I mean? So, and they find the guy in one piece, with like clean socks in the middle of a swamp. So it's weird stuff like that is what missing 411 is. David Paulides is former cop out of California that originated the creation of what is now known as missing 411. And that's where we get it. So with these stories today, they're related to it that I brought. But Brandon, I haven't heard from you in forever, dude.
Yeah, I've just been doing a bunch of nothing.
Just a bunch of nothing. I know Ledger called me the other day. He was like, hey.
Yeah, I ran into him at the store the other day. Yeah.
I was like, go talk to him, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah.
He's not going to get you.
Yeah, I might. He's kind of cute.
Hey, don't say that. They'll put you dead there next to Zach, buddy.
Is he not 18 yet?
No, he's not. He just he's going in his sophomore year. I know he looks like it.
Yeah. Shit, I thought he was 18. Yeah, I better watch myself before I end up like Zach.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, he's
sorry,
not an
Zach,
11-year-old little girl.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Oh,
yeah, not sorry.
All right. But so here's one of the stories that this one's actually interesting. It has a voicemail with it. And so I'm gonna read this part to you. I believe this should be on the missing 411. I saw some people actually made for it, but here we go. So It's called the Henry McCabe, and his name is, he's a black man, Henry McCabe. Very successful, and I wrote the supernatural voicemail. So it starts out of all of the myriad cases of people dying under mysterious circumstances, the case of Henry McCabe is one of the most chilling and hard to understand. As a state auditor in Minnesota, by all accounts, he had a happy and successful life with his wife and 2 children until he suddenly went missing on September 7th, 2015. After being dropped off at a gas station after partying at a local Minnesota club with his friends, the only thing left behind was a voicemail on his wife's phone. Henry McCabe's friend, William Kennedy, was never linked to the crime, though he was the one who dropped off Henry at the convenience store on the night he disappeared. Apparently, one of the distinguishable words on Henry's audio tape was Papoose, which was William's nickname as well. Then there's the fact that he turned in McCabe's keys and wallet, but under the auspices, I don't know that word, that he took them the night he partied with McCabe because he was trying to prevent Henry from driving himself home. When William gave his statement to police, he initially described a gas station where there was no evidence of himself or Henry. Later, an investigation of local electronic video surveillance at different stores confirmed it was another gas station. So I think his friend's drunk ass wasn't quite as drunk as the other guy. He must have been like sloshed. And he was like, yeah, we went to this gas station and named it. And then later was like, oh shit, it was actually a different one, which was closer to where his body was found, but still like 4 or 5 miles or something away, or 6 miles. So Henry's wife, Corrine, was mystified as to why William would leave Henry at a gas station at 2 a.m. She said, why would you not just drop him off at home? A lot of perplexing and unsatisfying angles to McCabe's disappearance case were never investigated. McCabe's body was found by a kayaker nearly 2 months after his disappearance on November 2nd, but the reason behind his death remains a total mystery. There were no gunshot wounds on him whatsoever or signs of violence or struggle at all. According to David Singleton of the Minnesota PD, McCabe's death is utterly perplexing. I don't believe the idea that he just wandered that far on his own, and the audio does not support the idea that his death is not suspicious.
So this guy was kayaking in Minnesota in November?
No, yeah, yeah, the guy that found him. That's suspicious in itself, isn't it?
Isn't Minnesota cold as fuck? Wouldn't everything be frozen?
Right. I don't know, man. Yeah, he's paddling his ass over the ice.
Yeah, he's scraping his fucking shit across the ice. Hey, what's that?
So there's a lot of missing 411 in this. Him just disappearing. When they found his body, they were like, I don't know how he died, which is interesting because in the audio at some point, so there's a 2-minute whole audio recording on his wife's voicemail, which he had called her and then she like ignored it and then it went to voicemail, and then it was 2 minutes long, but they only released like 30 to 45 seconds of that voicemail for some reason. People don't know. They suspect the wife or the cops or something. The cops are like, this is weird. I'm not entirely sure if the FBI got involved and did a cover up or not. But something happened. And here in a couple seconds, I'm going to send you guys, or I'm actually going to play it right here for you. Hopefully it's clear enough, or at least this is the biggest part of it that you want to like. That's the most intriguing, the most like supernatural. Pretty fucking weird. And in the longer version, you can hear someone say stop, and there's actual like audio of what sounds like him talking around that, but pretty supernatural. So the wife has 2 full minutes of what sounds to be some creature. So I'll play that one more time. Here it is in slow motion, slower speed. But in it, yeah, there is some words also. You can't tell what he's saying. You guys can look it up if you want to later. It's hard to actually find now because they haven't released the official like full length 2-minute, and then every media place and like YouTuber is taking it over, and half the time they're talking over it. But yeah, sounds like a creature of some sort on his voicemail that he sent, and then all of a sudden he's found. So that connects with missing 411. Found in a similar situation to him, and then somehow has some weird creature like sounds in it, and then in the background as well as like him talking. And then at the end it says stop, but they said it sounded like someone else's voice.
Sounds odd. It reminds me of like that one story. It was a true story about that. They were working out in the forest and they were loggers, and the whole logging team saw the exact same thing, and it is documented. They went to the cops about it, and one of their friends got abducted is what they're saying. And that friend,
They saw the UFO, huh?
Yeah, he was actually missing for a couple of months, and then he got dropped off somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said the exact same thing, and all of these people took lie detector tests and everything like that because they swore that they had just murdered him.
Some of it did, and in the audio too, before I forget, he yells, "I've been shot." And so when the police heard that voicemail, they were like, "Oh, his friends killed him. We got to find his body. Someone killed him. Someone shot him." They find him. There's no bullet holes. There's no nothing. But you can be shot by other things, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
Right. Like it does seem kind of like alien AF to me. I'm not too sure, but that noise was weird. It kind of reminds me of like the Predator movies or the invisible creatures we've talked about before that do make that clicking sound. Pretty much what that Alien or the Predator movies was based off of, it seems like, where all these people had these stories when they were younger, or, back in the day before those movies were made, and they saw these things in trees, and they did have a clicking sound, and all of a sudden they saw the Predator movies. Yeah. The fourth kind.
Have you ever
that
seen
movie with the owls? Oh my god, yeah.
Which that's a documentary about a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she even was like, "Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on." So yeah,
it was weird with the owls and stuff. That has a lot to do with all sorts of cryptids in the woods and stuff. And he was found miles away from that gas station, which drunk people do wander, but I don't know. I've never been drunk enough to like walk in a completely opposite direction from miles into a lake and drowned, or not even. I don't know. They're like, he could have been drugged. One thing I did wish that would happen was the autopsy report, if they would have checked him for that date rape drug, because they started finding in the missing 411 cases that those bodies were filled with it. However, our body makes it naturally. We actually make that in our body. And so if there was a way these creatures or beings or whatever was taking people to be able to make people's bodies make that all of a sudden, kind of like adrenaline, fear-induced adrenaline, or some sort of way, whether noise like that or something to make their bodies create that chemical, put them into a sleep-induced like date rape drug state, then it would they'd be able to put them in water and they just drowned with no fight, no damage, no nothing.
That's just one, right?
That's what?
Incident.
One incident, yeah.
And he said he got shot. Could have been like the ray gun. Could have been a BB gun.
I was thinking something along, or like even a needle, or the heart attack gun, or the or some, I don't know, getting with the whole drug thing. I mean, people drowning in lakes without swimming, or I mean, professional swimmers drown in lakes, after appearing there 20 miles from where they were last seen, and weird. So this one's that murder mystery, that in captive mystery that brought me to the missing 411 after I was listening to it. It blew my mind. So remember, this is kind of connected the dots to me, because you hear a lot about creatures or Sasquatch or something out in the woods being able to like disappear into trees or rocks, or and they're found in boulder, these like missing 411 or on boulder fields, or granite, large amounts of granite, or they're in the woods and stuff, and the dogs can't find them for some reason. And this story kind of cleared that up for me. So Apple Valley, Ohio has such a wholesome name. It seems like nothing bad could happen there, but it did. But on November 10th, 2010, the community was unsettled by a call to 911. The manager at a local Dairy Queen called because an employee, Tina Herman, 32, hadn't come to work. The deputy went to the residence for a welfare check, and from outside the home, they found nothing amiss. But the next morning, the boyfriend of Stephanie Sprague, a 41-year-old friend of Tina's, called to say she was missing. Authorities then learned that Tina's 2 kids, who'd been dropped off from school by the bus on Tuesday, were not in school on Wednesday. So on the morning of November 11th, authorities got a second call from the Dairy Queen manager. This time it was from inside Tina's home, saying there's blood everywhere. Inside the house, investigators found 3 distinct areas where blood pooled, along with drag marks and spatter in the living room and 2 bedrooms. Drag marks converged in the bathroom, where the tub was covered in blood. Tissue was also found. A mark on the shower curtain showed that at one point, the blood in the tub was 2 inches deep. It's a lot of blood. All those things indicated that victims had been dismembered in the bathtub, according to investigators. They considered that all 4 of the missing individuals could be dead, but there were 2 sets of shoe prints on the bloody floor, a box for shoes matching prints that would have been left were found in Sarah's bedroom closet. Was Sarah alive? Was she involved? Had she been taken captive? Investigators firmly believed the latter was the more likely answer. Time was of the essence to find the 13-year-old girl. Sheriffs focused on garbage bags and tarps and a Walmart bag found in Tina's garage. Had they been purchased by the killer? They turned to the local Walmart, where they found that an individual purchased tarps and garbage bags just after midnight on Wednesday. Store surveillance footage showed the purchase was made by an adult male who appeared to be in no hurry and didn't need to search for the right aisle. Using the store's security footage in the parking lot, detectives were able to identify the man using vehicle registrations and surveillance video. His name, Matthew Hoffman. He was an out-of-work tree trimmer. With Sarah's safety in question, investigators rushed to obtain a no-knock search warrant, they said just after daybreak on November 15th. A SWAT team burst into Hoffman's home and apprehended him. Inside the house, investigators found a massive pile of leaves deep enough to conceal a body. A search of the leaves turned up nothing. The team then searched the basement, where they found Sarah bound and gagged upon another pile of leaves. So this guy, you can actually look up pictures of this. He had bags of stored and like everything. It's like the walls were covered in plastic bags. He's really weird.
Very weird.
Yeah, very weird. The team then searched the basement, where they found Sarah bound and gagged upon another pile of leaves. Detectives processed the crime scene. They recovered a blackjack club, a heavy-duty knife that could have been used to dismember victims, and leaves scattered all over the house. Some were loose, others were in bags. This would not be the first individual who had a sexual attraction or affiliation to trees, said Dr. Kate Termini, a forensic psychologist. The term for this, she added, is dendrophilia. The death penalty was later taken off the table if Hoffman would reveal where he had hidden the bodies of Tina, Cody, and Stephanie. He told him that he dismembered the 3 victims, bagged their body parts, and hid them away in a hollow tree in a wildlife area. Authorities were able to recover the remains, and then later he requested many times that he wanted the pictures of the tree to prove to him that they didn't destroy it. This tree represented his sacred burial ground. So you might be asking about the dogs. When they went out to find them, it took them a long time to find the bodies out in these woods. And they only came upon it by like happenstance and him like telling them over and very specifically where to find them, because the dogs would not ping on the bodies. The reason they would not ping on the bodies, they quote, is because the tree was so thick that for some reason the dogs wouldn't hit on it. So it was like hollowed out from the top, and the body parts were dropped down into the tree, and then the dogs did not hit on the bodies. Yeah. So that made me think, missing 411. Dogs are being used to look for dead people, alive people. They're not hitting on anything. This specific murder case proved to me that it's possible that these people could be being hidden inside of trees.
No comment.
No
comment. No one else is gonna talk.
Go for it, Curry.
Seems pretty to me. Especially, well, if you've ever I don't know, I like Reddit because Reddit's weird enough. It's like me, but
I have read it.
You get those that are in the Forest Service that talk about how there are staircases to nowhere.
Yes.
So the idea of people being hidden in trees isn't that weird to me.
No, because they say that the Sasquatch or other cryptids can somehow disappear into trees. It's just like the UFOs. All the time will fly into, they say, directly into a mountain and just disappear.
Water also. I've seen a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
like the David Fravor, who was a fucking pilot in the I can't remember if he was Air Force or what he was in, but he has one of the only like government approved official documents of unidentified flying object. You can like look it up on YouTube. His whole thing. He does a couple podcasts with a couple people talking about it and shit too. But his claims is he's seen something that was interacting with something that was under the water, and it went from like pretty much water level to like I can't remember exactly how. It was pretty much like a split second. It went from water level to like an extremely high elevation, and then he lost sight of it, and it jammed his radar. And not only did it do that, but as soon as he lost sight of it, he was notified that it pretty much showed up where his GPS was pinged where he was going to go. So it like not only actively jammed his radar, but it also got the information off of his GPS or whatever he was using and went to directly where he was supposed to go afterwards.
Right. So it knew.
Yeah.
And they also say when they break the water, there's no splash.
Yeah, that's what he said too. He said that there was no sign of like propulsion or anything like that. There was like no water ripples or waves or anything like that, even though it was directly next to the water.
Right. Which you'd see common with like some like vibrant form of hologram, or if it's actual technology, it's like almost interdimensional where our physics, like the things, water, air, land, mass, whatever, it doesn't like coincide with it. It doesn't bump into it. It can pass right through.
Yeah, he said it was shaped like a Tic Tac.
A Tic Tac UFO.
And it had no visible propulsion system, and it was just insanely quick. He said that it moved like it had no bounds on gravity. Like it was pretty much just like could zip around like any direction it wanted. Effortless.
Like a laser light on a wall.
Right yeah, exactly.
Just wherever it wanted to go. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's weird. And I started thinking about trees, and I was like, what if there's some sort of, and then tunnels with the trafficking and shit. And I was like, what if, because like a tree, it's got roots and it goes, and if it's hollowed from, the middle of it, like how hard would that be? And then like they say Sasquatch are watchers. So what if they like, and all the things they can go like invisible, all sorts of stuff. But what if like part of this watching, or maybe not even Sasquatch, other creatures could do it from inside of like a tree? Like if you dug through a tree and made it hollow, you could keep digging down into the ground, into a tunnel. And just that case was like really weird. Like drug dogs allegedly can smell like, they used to say a marijuana seed 6 feet under the ground, right? And I'm like, how the fuck do they not smell a body or 3 bodies placed into a tree? What is that? And then trees are alive. They have their own like energy kind of field, if you will. And they send signals and stuff. Like, what is that right there? Why did those dogs not hit on those trees or that tree? Trips me out, man.
Well, you said he put them in bags, right?
Yeah.
The bags could have been sealed.
Well, it was like regular, I'm guessing regular, like black garbage bags, like construction bags, which you typically get from like Home Depot, but Walmart, which still shouldn't secure the smell of blood or decaying bodies, especially 3 of them. It was 2 grown women and a 12-year-old boy or 8-year-old boy or something. I mean, it was a lot of body parts. It was like 300 pounds, right? At least.
Dang.
Of body parts dropped down into the top of that tree. Yeah. And it's even weirder if you go watch him. You can actually watch the interview of him, and he's like sitting there, and he sits there for like hours, not talking, not doing anything, like he's in a trance. And he slowly ends up breaking down. They end up putting a woman in there to interrogate him, trying to be his friend. He finally opens up and stuff, and he's sitting there telling him, he's like, I know something bad happened because the girl told me something bad happened, and I don't want to know what it is. And it's weird. It's a very convincing case. That could also have something to do with it because the guy's like, it's a kid pretty much. He's like early 20s, like very early 20s. And he's like, I don't know what happened, but I know something bad happened, which could be a lie. But they were like really impressed on how, because you're like watching all these videos and they're like, oh, he's breaking down. They can tell this about him. They were like, they can't tell a fucking thing. this kid has the ball in his court. Like they're really going hard on the fact that they knew nothing about this kid. And I was like, that's weird. So like they know stuff about the, 40-year-old professional, criminal who's done this hundreds of times, but not the one kid that got busted one time for robbery. That's his background. And he said it was a robbery, but I mean, he kidnapped the girl. And I don't know. It's weird because of the missing 411 stories of people just like that one. So like 2 years ago, guys, there was this film crew making a film out in the woods, out in the national park or somewhere out there. And one of the guys that had worked on shows before, I can't remember his name, but all of a sudden he's standing there and he just runs. He just takes off. He's not screaming, yelling, nothing. He just runs, sprints into the woods like something's chasing him. And he's never been seen again. Missing 411. Something just happens. And that goes with the whole like people are there 1 second, but all of a sudden they're not. It's like they can see or feel or hear something that no one else can. All of a sudden they're gone.
Never. I wonder if it's one of those like a being just telepathically told him to run, like tried to control his body. And then he just did it. Just ran into like the woods towards whatever the being is guiding him to go to, kind of thing.
Right. Well, like out of the movies where like you can like, I guess typically in those ghost horror films, right, where you can see the thing chasing you.
Yeah.
But no one else can, and then you like start running away from it. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It's weird. It's really weird. I don't know.
Which project?
Yeah, that's a good one. That show. I actually watched that the first time, and like the only time I've ever seen that was with Brandon at his grandma's house.
The movie?
Yeah, the only time I've ever seen that was actually with Brandon at his grandma's house.
Wait, what movie was it?
The Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah,
that's the only time I've ever seen that movie was at your grandma's house. That's pretty wild, actually. That just kind of wrapped back into some weird stuff. Hey, it's Astro. If you like this, make sure to like and subscribe for more breakdowns brought to you by the Collective Minds Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else you like to stream from. Check us out.